welcome, friends, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Optimal Health Program. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to talk about a variety of things, some interesting statistics for diabetes in the younger and older populations. You'll be surprised, absolutely surprised as I was, in looking at some of the numbers. We'll talk about, and we have a great video to chat about with a lovely lady who had a stroke and has had spectacular recovery with stem cell therapy. We're going to take all your questions, whether you call or email or text us. We're here to do that. Welcome to our amazing Rumble LFA community. Thank you so much for continually watching the program and creating numbers that are beyond expectation. Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Amazon, Instagram, everybody, thank all of you for watching. Thank you for sending lots of emails to the website and asking lots and lots of questions. It's something I love to do, so we're as diligent as we can be answering your questions and getting those answers back to you. And for those of you who just like to call the office and speak to the staff, of course, that just makes it easier. The Garden City phone number is 516-794-0404, 516-794-0404. The website's drcalapai.com, drcalapai.com, right up on the screen there. And let's begin. Arthritis is a disorder that most people think about in a very simple fashion. My grandmother, my grandfather, my aunt, my uncle has a bad knee, bad hip, bumps on their fingers. But most people don't realize that it's a multifactorial mechanism. There are different types of arthritis. And you wouldn't believe the statistics unless I, read these out to you. From the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, in adults 18 and older up until 34, so 18.9% of boys and 21.5% have arthritis. From 18 to 34, that goes up to 53%, and as age passes, the numbers go crazy. So there are great numbers of joint damage and joint issues with people, and in the younger population, it's usually from overuse or playing sports, and you hurt your ankle, your knee, your hip, etc. As you get older, the accumulation of wear and tear on the joint and, a fall and injury contributes to that significantly. So we have to treat our joints a little bit better, be very careful when we're doing weight training or exercise or running, because a lot of patients that I see with foot or ankle, knee and hip issues have been runners. And although they love the adrenaline effect of the running, for some people, if you don't do it very gradually and in a simple fashion, you're going to create injury. So we've always had recommendations to help to work with arthritic and joint issues. Maybe the word arthritis is not the best term to use to speak to you now, because most people think arthritis is a bony damage and bony change, which in part it is. So there's osteoarthritis, which affects the bone, that can cause swelling, but it's a hard degeneration. More of what I see and more that exists is ligament, tendon, cartilage wear and tear, tears of the meniscus, tears of cartilage in your wrist, your fingers, toes, any of your joints, damage to the discs in your back, but that's a softer tissue issue. So that's been by far the largest number of joint-related issues compared to the bony change. Of course, broken bones also can incur tear to soft tissue, ligament, tendon, cartilage. Rheumatoid and autoimmune arthritis, Lyme disease and infectious arthritis also play a role, but at much lower, less significant levels. So the biggest category we see are the joints that have damage to the components inside them. And whether prolotherapy, PRP, or stem cell therapy, we can use each of those to help to create some repair. Prolo is the mildest form of stimulus to try to get your body to respond and maybe send some healing response that way. We don't do as much of that because usually people come in when they already have a progressed issue or a problem. PRP is taking your blood, spinning it, 7 growth factors are put into the area, which will last about 3 weeks to stimulate some repair. It may decrease some of the inflammatory cascade. In some cases, If the issue is far worse, it's not going to do much. And some people might opt to do a few PRPs. And then in that case, when your tissue is more progressively damaged, then of course stem cell is the best mechanism because you're colonizing and putting cells there to continue to create repair. So this is one of those sneaky things that seems to be occurring more so in the population, and most people just don't have a good grasp on it. But this is what we're seeing both in office and in literature. So be very careful with your joints.
We got someone in the chat who said that they took steroid shots to help with the arthritis, but it clearly just masked the symptom. It was back.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying that a steroid shot is not worth something. I mean, it decreases inflammation if you feel horrible, but you can't expect it to grow or repair anything. It just can't do that. And some people who get steroid shots, if it's in and around or near a ligament, it may create a problem with weakening of that ligament, and then down the road, you may be more likely to have a tear. So it doesn't make sense to me to do the steroid shot unless a person's in severe inflammatory cascade, etc. I'd rather do something that creates a healing response. It just makes more sense. But that's common because it's a quick thing to do a steroid shot. Doctors love to do it, but it's not going to create benefit down the road.
Got it. Someone else just asking, does what we eat affect arthritis? I've heard things about cutting out sugar or nightshades can help.
So yeah, this is an absolute. And when I first got into practice and I decided to learn everything I could about allergy, whether talking about foods or environmentals, trees, grass, weeds, molds, all of that, it became glaringly obvious to me that there are things that certain people eat that can cause symptoms anywhere in their body. And it's always been exciting for me to look like I'm really smart, to do testing for allergy and then pull those foods out of the diet. And people say, my God, my aches and pains are decreased. My bloating's gone. My headaches are gone. So we do see it. We see it often because I test lots of people for allergy, especially if they're talking about skin reactions, dermatitis, rashes, eczema, bloating, indigestion, stomach issues. So, it's just brilliant to just look to see if you have any issues with food. If you're allergic, take the food out and watch to see your body improve. Nightshades are a group of foods, tomato, eggplant, peppers, etc., and potato. For some people, without having an allergy test positive for that via blood or skin, they can have reaction to a food. So reactions could be allergy where IgE antibody binds to that food substance, the antigen. Sensitivity means you're reacting to the food when you eat it, but there's no detectable blood or skin reaction shown. And now to further complicate the picture, you could be allergic to the food or not allergic to the food, like wheat, for example, and be allergic to the gluten in the wheat. Or not allergic to the wheat, not allergic to the gluten, or allergic to chemical in the food, or allergic to the GMO nature of the food. So we see this all the time, and this is a conversation I have with people every day. We have to figure out why that's occurring. For a lot of people that I see that travel, that go to other countries, and they can go to Europe and eat bread and pasta and have no problem, it's because the grain here is GMO. And there, the grain is perfectly pure. So we talk about that with patients all the time. So yeah, what you put into your body is either good or bad. And it could be a good food that you're allergic to. It doesn't have to be something horrible. I had a patient today. We had a very nice conversation. This is one of the things I love about what I do is just having great conversations with patients that read, that learn, that want to learn, and she said, well, you got to choose your chemical. I said for a moment, isn't it pick your poison? She goes, poison, chemical, chemicals in the food, chemicals around your house, chemicals in your laundry. I'm like, that's brilliant. I said, I'm going to use that on the radio show today. She said, well, are you going to give me credit? Absolutely, Elizabeth. We're giving you credit. Because when you think about it, there's chemicals everywhere. And the chemical companies are slowly or rapidly killing us. Chemicals in the sky. We know that a bunch of states in the South have outlawed spraying chemicals in the sky, and people think, oh, it's conspiracy theory. It's fact.
Cloud seeding.
Cloud seeding is a fact. So read, learn, look at it. They say there's a lot of aluminum in the chemicals they're spraying because that has some sort of interaction in the cloud to make it rain, or, I think they're trying to say that, oh yeah, we're trying to make it rain so that it saves, states from the drought. No. There's even some comment about what happened in Texas having some correlation with spraying a few days before that. So whether that turns out to be true or not, we have to look. But you know what? People, be vigilant, understand, look, learn. Just don't take what you hear on the news as fact. That'll get you in more trouble than you could imagine. So do a little bit of research and try to understand what's going on. Chemicals in foods, chemicals in meds, all sorts of things. You have to be as healthy as humanly possible. So interestingly enough, with this conversation with her, pick your chemical. What chemicals are you going to allow into your body? What's okay? None. Keep them out. Eat organically. Just do the right thing, and your body will be much healthier. Look to see if you have heavy metals on board. If you do, let's take them out. This is one of the things that we do a lot of. So you got to pick your chemicals.
Chat saying it's getting harder and harder to pick them, Doc.
Absolutely. There's this unbelievably powerful progression of companies that make things that are horrible for us, yet these things are still on the shelves in stores. Well, thank God for RFK Jr. getting the dyes and the colorings out of foods. What did they say? 63% of the companies are getting all this stuff out of the foods?
Yeah, looks like that by next year.
And this hasn't really been a long time that he's been on the job. But let me tell you something. He's like Batman. He's getting it done.
He's in the shadows.
I love the fact of, that he's doing this, and this should have been done many, many years ago, but it should have never started in the first place, but at least we've got somebody who's doing the right thing.
Amen to that. Back to our previous topic, someone just asked, what is your take on things like turmeric, collagen, or CBD for joint pain relief?
Turmeric is great. It has good anti-inflammatory property. It probably also has, because it's curcumin, right? Some anti-cancer benefit. It's not going to grow or repair tissue. Collagen is interesting because when you talk about using collagen, I think it's good for your hair or your nails because you've got good blood flow there. But for a ligament that doesn't have much blood flow, how does that collagen powder or capsule, etc., get into your ligaments without the great blood flow? People have touted using different collagen or glucosamine or combined substances for their joints, but I do MRIs on people's joints all the time, and I don't really see significant changes therein. So I'm not sure as to whether or not they can get into the ligaments, tendons, or cartilage and create a result. I do like all the natural substances, of course, but there's got to be some proof that there's benefit there.
Got this question. What is the difference between a food allergy and your body reacting to hidden toxins?
So your body can only have so many symptoms. There's not a million symptoms you could have. Aches, pains, burning, sweating, heat, etc. So a food allergy is classically when a food is provoking your immune response, an IgE antibody is binding to that food, and as that antibody rises, which we call an immune complex, which is the food and the antibody, it's getting to tissues and different parts of your body and causing an inflammation, a cascade of response that can give you any number of symptoms. You could feel tired, achy, dermatitis, rash, indigestion, bloating, the list goes on, swelling anywhere. When you talk about exposure to heavy metals or some sort of toxic substance, it's far more difficult to connect that substance with the symptom. If we find from blood and then more accurately skin testing for allergy that something's positive on your skin because your antibodies are there binding to that allergen liquid, the antigen, we can take those foods out and relatively quickly, even people within days, would say, wow, my bloating's gone, my stomach feels great, my skin is clearing up, this or that is improving. So there's kind of like a one-to-one removal and improvement ratio there. So we see that a lot. When you're looking at toxins, and they can come in a variety of ways, the easiest to look at and to test and to watch being removed are heavy metals. It's hard for me to say that you would know that the arsenic that you're exposed to is giving you this or that symptom. On the other hand, there's a great story about Chuck Norris's wife, who had so many scans done. She had huge amounts of gadolinium, and she ended up having brain-related issues, really bad brain fog, etc. I'm not sure to the full extent. I haven't ever spoken to her. But that we correlate those heavy metals with brain-related damage or effect. Similarly, we know that aluminum is linked with Alzheimer's. So we know for some of these things, but I can't tell you what arsenic may be doing to your entire body, or lead or mercury or cadmium, all of these things. So sometimes there's a clear understanding because we've evaluated, tested, proven, removed, and you can see the result. Sometimes it takes a while when you get rid of heavy metals and such to be able to start to see results in your blood. Your urine will tell us more quickly because if you do an IV to remove the metals and a urine afterwards, you can see what's being pulled out. Then if you do 10 treatments, the 11th treatment, you do the IV and the urine afterwards again, you compare the two urines, you could watch those things being depleted. So it's a little bit less, directly correlated with symptoms.
Got it. And I see some people saying hi to me in the chat. What's going on? And I see Rosebud. By the way, is this a Citizen Kane reference? Let me know. But
could be.
Wants to know, is bromelain a natural pain reliever?
Bromelain, which comes from pineapple and is a nice supplement, I don't call it a pain reliever. Some people say they feel better and less aches and pains from taking it, but it's hard to say. Just like fish oil is thought to have some anti-inflammatory properties, but if you got a tear in your meniscus or something more than a little bit of a sprain, it's not really going to do anything. Now, that being said, anti-inflammatories and painkillers that are created, pharmaceutically, they would never make it to the market if it took a week to take your pain away. So these are drugs that force a change, and in many cases, they're useful if a person's got a lot of pain, but it's hard to rely on a natural substance for everybody to see whether or not it helps to take pain away. I don't think you're going to see that with the bromelain. I think these are good add-ons, but I don't know that that's a direct mechanism to help to relieve pain. Depends on the pain.
Got it. We just got someone wants a clarification on exactly what the deal is with seed oils being called toxic. What is wrong with canola or soybean?
Well, any product that you buy or take, you have to wonder how it's made and wonder whether or not there are negative effects to some of those products. And some oils can become rancid and become more damaging to your body. Some oils are more pure, and the ones that are pure are obviously the ones that you want to utilize and not the others. There's a great deal of discussion about the seed oils and how they may be more pro-inflammatory in some people compared to the natural or better sources of oils like olive oil. So I think that's where the discussion started, and it has now spread out to a very, very large discussion. And the idea is that you want to minimize the use of the seed oils because of their potential negative effects. So a little quick chat about inflammation in terms of oils. There's a pathway where in your body inflammation can occur from prostaglandins. These are mediators of inflammation. And arachidonic acid is a bad inflammatory agent. Certain prostaglandins are bad inflammatory agents. And using a little bit of fish oil can block the pathway to go to the bad arachidonic acid and inflammatory prostaglandins and push that pathway to a different side of the equation, which helps with a decrease in inflammation. So it also has to do with linoleic acid, linolenic acid, a variety of these components. You want to have very little of the inflammatory type and a lot of the anti-inflammatory type. So there's another component to that discussion on the type of oils that are good for you. I think the best oils for you would be olive oil, but not something you might buy in the store that's got a lot of other stuff in it and not a lot of olive oil. You want to get pure, extra virgin, 100% pure olive oil, typically from sources in Europe that have some of the best olive oil. Italy, Sicily, of course, my favorite. Spain, lots of different countries make really good olive oil. Did I say Greece or Spain? Greece.
Can't forget the
Italy,
Greek.
Africa. Wherever it's hot and those trees exist and flourish.
And it's something with the happiness in the air. It helps them.
Absolutely. It's all part of it.
So someone's just asking that they said their brother's family got rid of their microwave, and they're just wondering if this is actually something that people should be considering. She started off thinking they were crazy, but she has been reading things about issues with microwavable meals, etc.
Yeah, so what you put the food into in the microwave obviously would be significant to understand, because if it's plastic, that would be a bad idea. And honestly, I don't know that microwave is terribly healthy for you. If you can do without it, I probably would. I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg of understanding, whether or not that can be a problem. And I think there's more research, compiled now that says it may not be as safe as we once thought. But that's true with everything. We thought all sorts of things were safe, going back years and years and decades. And now we found out that, oh, by the way, that's really bad because of this or because of that. So I'd be careful with it. I wouldn't use it.
Well, we got a little conspiracy in the chat. Someone's saying, have you ever seen a commercial for a microwave? No. It's because they're evil. You're not wrong. I have never, to this day, I cannot remember a microwave ad. But I feel like it doesn't really, I just feel like it doesn't matter. They're all the same, right?
It's curious. I always say that advertising is something that's done to make you buy something you don't really need or want, on one hand. And progress, which is a great word in every realm of society, sometimes progress creates bad things, like weed killers spraying them around your yard to get rid of weeds that you can easily pull out or power wash or do something with. They're linked with cancer. They're still on the shelves. So the progress of being able to have a weed-free yard, for example, and then maybe being exposed to something that causes cancer is a bad progress.
Yeah. Pesticides, too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I have patients that have MS and Parkinson's in the same patient. How is that possible? How bizarre is that? It's bizarre, but, with the patients that we've spoken to, we've kind of figured out that it was correlated with, pesticide and chemical exposure, because when the person was a child, they worked with their uncle that was a landscaper and spraying that crap all over the place. Exposure to that is horrible. It's going to kill bugs. It's not going to be good for you.
Yeah, it's horrible. And then someone in the chat is just saying that they've been trying really hard to avoid things wrapped in plastic, but it's legitimately impossible to avoid.
Kind of. We try to tell people don't drink water from plastic bottles, because in the production of that, plastic water bottle, somewhere it's sitting on a dock and in the sun and waiting to be shoveled into a big truck to get somewhere else, which it probably will sit out somewhere. And, heating the plastic probably is releasing a variety of the chemicals that are in it and heavy metals, as we spoke about on a few programs before. So just get your water in glass. And get a triple reverse osmosis filtration system for all the water coming into your house. Smart.
Is there any truth to the idea that ultra-processed food is a form of slow poison?
You could say that. Years ago, a guy did a movie about eating fast food.
Oh, Supersize Me.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy blew up, gained a ton of weight, felt horrible. That's just the tip of the iceberg, because all those chemicals put into your body are not good for your liver, your kidney, any and all of your organs, your brain. You don't want that stuff in your body. People should be eating in the most simple, safe, healthy, non-chemical, non-plastic fashion possible.
I think this is a perfect time, Doctor. We got to tell them about the McDonald's. The riddle.
The riddle. Yes. Go right ahead.
Well, I can't remember the actual song. Can you help me with the song?
Oh. 2 all-beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Why do I know that? I have no idea. Because I probably sang that as a kid, because it was funny at the time.
Who doesn't know that? Talk in the let me know in the chat. Everyone knows the motto, right? McDonald's. But the first term, all beef? All beef, guys. Now, how could they say it's all beef, but the beef patties are 30% soy? I will give you guys 15 seconds in the chat. If you think you know, this is your chance. All right?
Fun trivia.
Ooh.
Crazy trivia.
All right, let's see.
We should do a show on trivia.
We should.
I bought a really cool book on trivia years ago, and I still have it. I think I bought the newer version of the book. I think the author's name is Panatti, Charles Panatti. It's Extraordinary Origins of Ordinary Things. And I like knowing things I didn't know before, and some of the stuff is cool. A caper, the thing you can cook with, having your food, is the bud of a carnation. Or a marigold, either or, which I never would have known. So, a little tidbit of info. And then it went on for all the nursery rhymes and different songs and all sorts of different weird things that are a little bit of a shock. So the song Ringing Around the Rosie that kids sing and run around in circles with.
Oh, that's a depressing
We
one,
should
right?
probably ask people if anybody knows what that is.
I knew that one.
Yeah, let's ask people, what is the origin of the song Ring Around the Rosie? Let's see if we can get anybody who might know that. I'll explain that to him in a minute. I think Seesaw Marjorie Door is about a prostitute. It's all these crazy children's songs have horrendous, origin. So,
okay, so the chat, first of all, they said, everyone knows the jingle. Come on. This is McDonald's. So, guys, this is how they're able to do it. They say, all beef patty. That's the first line. But their patties are 30% soy. How do they do it? They made a company, and this is the company that makes the patties, and that name of that company is called All Beef. And that's some
2 all beef patties. Genius.
evil and
Evil
genius.
genius.
Yep. Crazy. And then, all right, so let's see the chat. All right, we got more questions. I'm waiting on the jingle. If you guys know, I like this. We got a little Jeopardy going on. So I'll give you guys a second. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so that's deceptive. You don't say. I'd say that's the definition of deception. All right, so I guess they don't know Ring Around the Rosie. We can bring it back to you, Doc.
Ring Around the Rosie is a song that originated at the time of the Black Plague. So kids have been singing this for hundreds of years, generations. Ring Around the Rosie was a red bump on the skin, which they called a rosie. It was red. The ring was a lesion that was transmitted by fleas from mice. This is the Black Plague. Ring Around the Rosie, pocket full of posy. They had to carry flowers around because everyone was dying. It smelled horrible. And they would throw the flowers, the posy, when they cremated everybody. Ashes, they cremated everybody. We all fall down. They thought everybody was going to die around the time of the Black Plague. So how did it go from that to be this cute little song?
My first swimming lesson. I'm in the
Ring Around the Rosie. It's just amazing to me that it went from something so horrible to like the most common childhood song that there is.
Hilarious. Incredible. Yep. All right, we got a serious question.
I'll bring that book in so we can look at some other cool things.
I love that. Got a serious question. My friend has, or I'm actually not able to pronounce this because I did not go to medical school.
You can spell it.
Lymphangiomatosis. Lymphangiomatosis.
Lymph.
Lymphangioleo myomatosis.
Lymphangiomyomatosis.
Thank you. That was
so lymph are your lymph channels in your body where fluid bathes your cells, and lymph nodes are where sometimes your body brings back foreign material to destroy and kill them.
Oh yeah. So let me
That's
finish.
why I saw lymph nodes.
They actually helped me out. They said the shortcut is LAM. So you should have said that. In addition, I also she has IPF, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Is she a good candidate for stem cell?
Absolutely, and certainly with pulmonary fibrosis, there was a clinical trial that we were part of, for that, where we do intravenous stem cell, and then we do a nebulizer with the stem cells in the chamber where the little device pushes air across that chamber to breathe the stem cells topically into your lungs. much like an asthmatic would use that nebulizer to put medication in the lungs to open the airways. So yeah, certainly a stem is good to put brand new cells topically to the lung and intravenous to the lung to be able to help to create repair for the lung. So yes, of course, I want to be able to see what their blood work shows, vitamins, minerals, hormones, do the whole workup. But I think that would be certainly a great advantage.
And then just a follow-up comment. She said second part, she also is on the list for a new lung.
Mm-hmm. Well, when pulmonary fibrosis occurs, that's bad degeneration of the lungs. Just like bronchiectasis, another type of degeneration of the lungs. COPD, emphysema. We have great COPD videos, too, that we can talk about. And maybe in the next show, we'll do the COPD video and talk about how the benefits are there.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, we also have a clip for one of the stroke victims we're going to play shortly, but let me get through all of your questions. We did have a little bit of fun with the riddles.
All right. Gotta have some fun.
Oh, yeah. All right. So has anyone asked you about hydrogen water, and are there benefits to drink it? Hydrogen water.
It's hard to say. It's a new trend, just like alkalinizing your blood, theoretically, which is not possible, is a big trend. So there are a lot of non-doctor people that talk about some of these things, and the companies and people that they use to market these things are making you think that's going to change your life, but it never happens. Why? Because I see thousands and thousands of people every year that have tried every new social media trend or trend otherwise. So I'd be hard-pressed to say that taking hydrogen water is going to do anything to your body, because hydrogen, and just like oxygen, any gas, is a transient effect. The other comment about alkalinizing, if you're trying to make your blood more alkaline or raise the pH of your blood, it's not going to happen ever, because your body has this exquisite balance system that keeps your pH at one specific range at about 7.2. If you take an alkaline, your body holds on to acid, immediately balancing that out, so you're negating the effect. You can't make your blood alkaline unless, of course, you have diabetic, degeneration of your kidneys and you have bad lungs and you can't regulate. There's respiratory alkalosis, diabetic ketoacidosis, different things. If you take in too much acid, your body pees the acid out. So between your lungs and your kidneys, you're controlling your pH exquisitely every millisecond. So to think that you can be alkaline for a minute or an hour or a day, it's just not possible.
Got it. Real quick, I missed my YouTube audience. I apologize, but I didn't forget you. They said random, but do you guys know anything about alpha-gal? Was recently diagnosed with it, but all I was told was tick and no mammalian meat. I miss my steak.
It may be that a person who's exposed to a tick or a certain bug has an inflammatory mechanism, and then they feel horrible when they start to eat red meat. I've heard of that. I don't think it occurs in the significant numbers of the population, so that it's not a million people. I'm wondering as to the mechanism behind that. So there may be other things occurring too. They're trying to vaccinate animals now so that when we eat the animals, we're getting the vaccine. So.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I had a cousin of mine, younger than us. He got that tick where he was unable to eat meat for almost, I think it was like 8 months, but he did get through it. It gets through eventually.
So my comment would be, and certainly having that person come in as a patient, I'd want to see exactly what's going on and try to mediate that in some natural means with nutrients or vitamins or vitamin IVs. I really want to be able to see what's occurring in those individuals.
Here we go. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this information. Wow, Dr.
Thank
Chris,
you.
I did not know about Ring Around Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a funny one. They said, oh wait, where'd you go? They said, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. We used to raise tough kids, LOL.
Yeah, I can say that from personal experience because, we didn't have helmets. Who wore a helmet? Nobody. I mean, you wore a helmet if you were playing tackle football and stuff, but we didn't wear helmets. We jumped the curbs with our kind of handmade, specialized, crazy, distorted bicycles. You know, we used to change everything around on a bike because it made it cooler. And you banged your head all the time. I mean, when did you not bang your head? I mean, you know, you got knocked down. You know, you played touch tackle football. You know, it was a rough and tumble thing back then.
Yeah. Now the helmets have expiration dates.
Exactly. Yeah, it's certainly a little different. I would never trade my upbringing for anything because we had a lot of kids around my neighborhood. We played every sport you could possibly play. Our parents loved it. You know, we came back in, we had dinner when my dad got home from work, and it was just a great environment, great people. I still talk to the people I was friends with back then. And now and then we just go back and look at the memories. One of my friends, John, who's in Florida now, who was a couple of years older than us, and he was sort of like the ringleader. He would set up the teams, you know, who would play against who and stuff. You know, he was a great athlete. And we talk about what we used to do. He sent me a picture. I'll have to at some point put this
Oh, yeah.
on the video here.
Someone said they made their own rollerblades. Oh, AKA skateboards. Okay, that's a little...
Yeah.
Rollerblades, that's like a whole... That's an
But John sent me a picture of our street hockey team. We had Ranger jerseys. We had, is the company Milek? Hockey gloves, because you don't want to get bashed in your hand from someone else's stick. And we ran around and played it in the street. And we made our own hockey net from 2x4 piece of wood. And my friend Anthony's father was a fisherman in Sicily, and we used the fishing net that he brought over. So we had the best time. Alex was our goalie. We used foam rubber with duct tape and cardboard for the goalie pads. You know, we used whatever we could use, but it was the greatest time of our lives, you know. So, you know, I can't complain about that.
And someone in the chat said, and we drank from the yard hose.
Yeah, absolutely. Garden hose all the time. All the time. You got dirty. You got scuffed. You drank from the garden hose. I mean, that's what you did.
I remember a moment when I was a child. I was probably 8 years old at this point. My aunt comes into the backyard like, did you guys not hear the study? Do not drink out of that hose. There's plastics. There's this, there. That. We're like, what? Psh, yeah. Please.
Hey, we're still here.
What else we got? This is a great convo today. This is, I think, regarding that last conversation with the water, the hydrogen water. They were just saying, I thought it was to add oxygen to the blood.
Even if you're able to do that, which you can't really do, how much oxygen you're getting and for how long? It's just insignificant. You know, we have pulse ox devices where we can put a pulse ox on your finger, see what your oxygen's doing. Of course, if you're in a hospital setting or a doctor's office and they put the nasal cannula on you, you're getting oxygen coming in at a certain flow rate. You can detect that. But what are you really getting from taking a pill and letting it dissolve in water? You know, it's insignificant.
Right.
It's a new fad that some of the people doing it may be making millions of dollars, but there's no significant long-term effect of that.
Just got a question on Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags, Are they bad?
I wouldn't heat up anything that's plastic.
Yeah.
Depends, you know, if you're putting something into a Ziploc bag for a short period of time, it might be okay. I haven't seen studies on Ziploc bags. I just know things that are plastic when they heat up are not good.
PFAS. Someone's been hearing stories about Forever Chemicals, PFAS, and takeout containers. Can these really hit our bloodstream? If you
were to look at Forever Chemicals, bisphenol A, Nalgene, you know, in plastic bottles and all these plastic top, you know, black bottom takeout things, just start looking online. Look to see what's in there. If you take something home for a restaurant and it's 15 minutes, take it out and put it in something else. You know, and certainly don't heat things in that plastic and don't microwave things in the plastic.
And then this is just a follow-up from our Alpha Gal guy that misses steak. He says, LOL, Doc, I was military, so there's no telling what they put in me.
Oh, yeah. I hate to hear that.
Yeah, I had a friend who went into the Marines, and he was showing me, I mean, these needles they put, you know, for any situation. Wild.
I don't know. The world's a crazy place. It's all upside down.
If you've been eating this stuff for 20 years, is the damage already done or can the body recover?
It's a good question. It depends on how much exposure.
Heavy metals.
Over how much time. Heavy metals will definitely create damage. And, there are diseases now that are creeping into the younger population that weren't there ever before. So I think that there is something to be said, as your excellent question suggests, that if we have enough exposure early on, are we going to be the diabetic, at an age far younger than we ever should be? Are we going to have memory loss, dementia at younger ages, heart attack, stroke? All this stuff is happening at much younger ages now than ever before. I see it every day. I see younger people that have problems that shouldn't be having these problems. So yes, the accumulation of these bad things is definitely playing a role. You're not going to see research from the food companies or the plastic or the chemical companies, etc., saying that, but I think you can find research on it.
And then someone in the chat said that you could actually find the list of PFAS on the hhs.gov site, thanks to RFK.
Excellent. Good. I applaud him once again. Learn, like I say, just learn and read and follow him and follow other people that, are well-intentioned, because all these other companies are not.
Like this program.
Yes. Like, subscribe, follow, whatever. Send us a note. If you go into Sicily, bring back some Sicilian olive oil. I mean, you could do that. I will my patients do that. And I ask them in a slightly forward-thinking way, oh, you're going to Sicily? That's wonderful. Yeah, the best olive oil. They have some of the best wine. Nero d'Avola, it's great. It's like a full-bodied wine. And, in case you have the opportunity to bring some back, that would be great. So all my Greek patients and Sicilian patients will bring me olive oil. I have a lovely woman who takes care of the house, a housekeeper, and she's like, beyond the Energizer Bunny, and she does she's there today, spectacular job cleaning every inch of the house. And every time she goes to Greece, she brings me back some cool Greek stuff. So Greek olives and the olive oil, it's just, you could drink it, it tastes so good. But it's pure from an olive grove next to where her family lives. So you couldn't get anything more pure than that. So this, for people that have Greek friends or Italian or Sicilian friends, ask them to bring some stuff back.
Oh, yeah. So got this question. This actually, we touched on this, but not on LFA. This was one of our weekly programs on the personal channels. But this one saying, kids are not exercising. We played outside all day, every day.
Yeah. That's all we did. If you look at that and you got out of school at 2:30, 3 o'clock and you ran around and did stuff every day until 6 o'clock or 6:30 where you had to be home and Dad came home and you had to be washed and, ready for dinner, you had a couple of hours every day doing this stuff. There wasn't a day where we didn't. You loved it. You had all your friends together. Yeah, there are times when you'd play it and someone would pick you and you had to race your bike as far and as fast as you could. And then when they caught up to you, they gave you a pink belly or, pinched you and beat you up a little bit. But yeah, look, it was a game. It was a legitimate game. Kill the guy with the ball.
Monkey in the middle.
Monkey in the middle. Stoop
I was
ball.
always the monkey.
Yeah. Stoop ball, kick ball. Every game you could possibly play. Red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. All these things. You just did it for hours, and that was a healthy thing. Now, there's just none of it. Unless, of course, you've got kids that are playing, organized sports. It's a little different, but the majority of kids don't do any activity at all. They're going to have big thumbs just from using the cell phone or the computers.
Yeah, and their posture is going to be like...
Exactly.
Oh, wait. Shout out to our military man in the chat. This is crazy. These numbers, I was given 13 anthrax shots.
Oh, my God.
And then was given 135 hydrocodone 10s for 5 years from the VA. FedEx delivered them to my house. 135 a month for 5 years.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's just unconscionable. That's horrible. They just want to knock you out with the meds so that you don't feel pain, but it's going to ruin your life. I mean, look at the company, was it Purdue and Sackler, the family that was sued for all of that. Someone said yesterday, I don't know who that was, when I was talking to, that they're suing Purdue and all the pharmacies that did the overprescribing of those meds. Which is the right thing to do, because these poor people, many people died because of those meds. But someone's got to, be accountable.
They said, "There's a story, brother.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll love to grab a beer with you sometime."
Yeah.
Said, "I'm not ungrateful. Trust me. I'm just tired."
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fact. We do a lot of stem cells for veterans, so we're working diligently to try to get into the deepest parts of the administration to work on getting stem cells done for wounded veterans. So we're working on it. It's been a long time coming. Been trying to do this for the past 7 years. Even hired a consulting company to try to get them to go out and try to get donations, but it happened around COVID, so companies were not really as interested, but
we're doing what we can.
Still working on it.
Oh, yeah. Mike Crispy, if you're listening.
Mikey Mike, one of our favorite guys, Mike Crispy, always has something amazing and interesting to say. His energy is unparalleled.
Yes.
And
I'll just say, the veteran that is watching right now, you're watching on YouTube, but the Rumble audience is saying, shout out to our servicemen and veterans. Thank you, heroes.
Absolutely. God bless every one of them. You look back historically at our generations and before us, during the time of the First and Second World War, Korea, Vietnam, and I talked to other people in the same age, category, that I'm in, et cetera. Most of the men were in some sort of the armed forces, whether Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, because that's what was done back then. You did your proud service, and some got deployed, some didn't, but it was a wonderful thing, a wonderful tradition. And we have to thank every one of them who's ever done that for us. I think the Marines are 200 and some odd years old now, and of course all the armed forces have been around for a very long time. But you got to thank every one of them going back all of these years for protecting our people and protecting our country, Can't thank them enough.
No question. And someone said, yeah, Mike Crispy is the man. Yeah. You guys know Mike.
He's on Real America's Voice, right?
Yes.
He's the man.
He's the man. How do you get a child hooked on gaming or YouTube to care about physical activity again?
That's a great question. You have to probably play a little bit of a child psychology scenario there. So you either have to try to get that child to like something that you can do together with them, and it becomes, your thing with them. My nephew was younger. I used to take him Yankee games. He loved going to the Yankee games, get there early, watch batting practice. So that was a terrific thing to do. Anything that you could involve yourself with that child that's separate from the daily grind, that's enjoyable, you've got to try to bring them towards that. And as they get, more interested in that, then yeah, you can kind of pull them away from that addiction to those devices. And that's one of the things I've seen work.
Chat says bribery.
Yeah, you may have to.
That's always the last.
I'm not beyond that. I tell a funny story about my nieces and nephews when they were young, and 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 or whatever age they were. My sister and her husband and the 2 kids would come up from Florida. It would be the summer. Every summer they come up from 2 weeks. They're coming up the next couple of weeks. And I would just like to sit by the pool, relax, do my thing in the garden, and just lay in the sun and have a nice quiet afternoon. But you got 3 kids that are playing in the pool like crazy banshees. At one point I realized, I'm like, okay, we're going to play a game now. I said, and at the end of that game, you could make some money. And they're like, oh my God. To them a little bit of money was a big thing. So I said, we have to be quiet for 1 hour. We're going to play this game where we don't say anything. We can do sign language, whatever else you want, for an hour. And if we make it to that hour, each of you gets $20. So I'm sure my mother's listening now and laughing. So I did that. It worked. Of course, they wanted to do it for 3 or 4 hours, and I had to shell out a lot of money. But at least I had some peace and quiet. So it worked.
Oh, that's good. That is great. felt like, how did Uncle Chris do this? They're so
Wow,
well
this
behaved.
is amazing. And then their parents came over and looked over from the deck down and like, they shook their heads like, it's quiet, right? There's a wonderful price for peace. You know, so that was a price for peace that day.
Oh, that's great. That's genius. Okay, we're back. So our veteran said, currently using medical marijuana, but I don't think I know enough to use it effectively. I just get stoned, and that's not the goal.
Now that there are tons of places where you can get different levels of THC with gummies or with things that you might breathe from a little vape device, you want to kind of titrate it and see where you can get the benefit but not get completely knocked out. So that may take a little bit of work to do that. I'm not sure what town or area he's in, but there are probably big dispensaries all over the place. Now I would try to titrate downwards, so to get away from the big dose where you're stoned, and then try to find a dose where you feel good, you're calm, you're relaxed, your symptoms are low, but you're not totally out of it.
There you go. All right, chat's $20, sign me up. We were more in the 25-cent bracket. Inflation,
well, you know,
guys.
I need to make sure that was going to ensure a nice quiet afternoon. Yeah, when we were kids, a quarter was a big thing. I get a quarter from the tooth fairy, that sort of thing. Inflation.
Can't thank them enough. Oh, talking about our vets. Absolutely.
Yeah, when I look back, my dad was in the Army, my uncle was in the Army, my other uncle in the Marines, other uncle in the Army, cousins, Marine. I mean, our family was entirely throughout all the armed forces and, throughout so many years. And pretty much every man, and some of the women too, because they were volunteering for doing different things, were in the armed forces. So I thought of that one day. I said, let me think. And I asked my mom, and then she rattled off a list of her, of course, her brother, but cousins, her first cousins, and she had tons of first cousins, 30 some odd first cousins. And then uncles all served, so just about every man served. I should have done it myself, because when I wanted to get into medical school, someone had approached me and said, well, if you go into the service, they'll pay for your entire medical school and internship and residency. I'm like, oh my God. And I just didn't think necessarily that because you had to give 4 years for 4 years or 8 years or something like that. I just couldn't understand it, and I didn't do it, but now I wish I did. Because I would have traveled the world, I would have had no medical school debt. Would have been genius. Would have been done the same time that I was done. But, I just didn't have enough information on it. But I tell everybody today, do it. You're crazy if you don't. Because school, medical school, law school, the prices for these schools are just insane. $70,000 to $100,000 a year? It's crazy. And what you would learn in many ways going into these programs, because I know people that have done it, is spectacular. Makes you grow up with a lot of knowledge, a lot of interpersonal strength, great interpersonal relationships.
Street
It's a great
smarts.
thing. Yeah, it's a great thing.
You wake up and you make your bed, which is a lot of people don't do that these days.
And remember, you're doing a ton of exercise, so you're in crazy shape. My friend Tom's daughter, and he's one of the higher-ranking black belts in our karate school, went into Coast Guard, and it's a local academy that's not far. I think it's in Connecticut. And they work you out. They work out like unbelievably. And I had seen the change and how well and how strong and how athletic she is. And of course, you have to be super fit to be within that. And I think she's got a year or so left to go. But, and the focus and the concentration, there's no cell phone crap and everything else you're distracted by. You become a really responsible, strong, fit individual. It's a great idea. It's a genius idea.
All right, we got another question in the chat. Are there any supplements that can help support the lymph node system?
Good question. So typically the best support for lymph nodes are exercise because you're pumping that lymph throughout all the channels to the nodes through and clearing out waste products of metabolism. You could probably argue that vitamin C has great antioxidant capacity, vitamin D, maybe also for blood flow, some of the bioflavonoids, maybe some curcumin, but by far the biggest benefit to the lymph system and the lymph nodes would be exercise. Not so much weight training, but more cardio, because the cardio is a constant 30, 45-minute activity that's pumping everything around, flooding your cells with oxygen, vitamins, minerals, and hormones. So we're a big proponent of that.
The GI Bill was great. Coast Guard dudes are tough, man or woman.
Yeah, they're all tough, I think it's wonderful. I think more people, should do it. It takes, especially today, because it takes people, agreeably today, people are not as strong, they're not as driven, they're not as, perseverant, their work ethic is not as good. And I think if they are able to progress into something that helps them focus and achieve, then the rest of your life is going to be great because you're really a hardworking individual and giving and caring as well.
I thought I heard a ringtone.
Yeah, it's my cell phone.
I was Army artillery deployed during OIF Operation Enduring Freedom, I believe, 2008 to 2009. Thank you guys for answering my questions. I am subscribed. Thank you for your subscription.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Great talking to you today.
We should pop on a little bit of that video for the stroke patient just so we can show people how stem cells work for even a devastating neurological damage. Without people seeing this or seeing a person describe their own benefit, it's hard for them to grasp how bad things can be and how great they could be after your body repairs itself. Let's see if we can get that set up.
Mine were at Dr. Calapai's, and they live in Westchester. They called me from Westchester and said, "Hey, we're in the neighborhood and we'd love to come see you." So I made them lunch, and they told me why they were here. 2 of the 3 family members have had Dr. Calapai's stem cell treatments, and one of them is an older friend of mine, the mother of the other 2, who had been wheelchair bound the last time I saw her, and now came to my house with a walker and got around the house with a cane. And I said, "You're so much better. Magic, what? What have you been doing?" And she told me about the treatments that she received. Her daughter said, "I encouraged her to do it, and I'm going to call for you right now and make you a consultation." And the reason for that is that about 5 years ago, I had an acute CVA, a cerebrovascular accident, a stroke. And one of the results of the stroke was that I suffer from cerebral ischemic disease, which causes me to have blackouts. And I'll just be, one of the times I had a glass of wine in my hand, which I was laughing, the last man who spoke to you had a similar experience. And I thought, am I reacting to this wine? What is happening? I just passed out cold. In about 6 months, 3 times that happened. The third time, it happened 3 times in one night. By the third time, my friends called the ambulance and I was taken to the hospital. And that's when they diagnosed the cerebral ischemia. Since I have had the stem cell treatment, I have not had a single blackout. And that is a magical result. When I came to the doctor, I told him that was my concern. And he infused the stem cells up with my head back into my sinuses in the hopes that if there were repairs that could be done in my brain, must have done something. But I think the most extraordinary result of all the things, because I don't know if it's having an impact on my brain and on my ischemia situation, except that I haven't had any blackouts. But I can tell you that I have been so frighteningly energetic that when I came back from Europe and saw my poor little house was so run down, I started to get appraisals for painting or siding or what have you, and they were so extraordinarily high, frighteningly high. $45,000? I just want a coat of paint. I don't want a new house. I just decided I could do it myself. So I got out the letters and the scrapers and the spackle, exterior spackle, and I started to redo my house. And friends came over and said, "You have ischemia. If I see you get on a ladder, I'm going to beat you. You can't get on a ladder with that problem." And they got online, and there are different sites online, Angie's List and Home Advisor and all different places where you can get appraisals that were much, much more reasonable than the ones that I had obtained. So I did find a young man and his crew who finished the house for me. And while they were doing the house, I now started on the garden. So I replanted my whole garden, and I've just had the most extraordinarily energetic year. Last month, my older son got married on the Italian Riviera in the most stunningly beautiful little town. It's a very, very mountainous area. If it had been last year and I hadn't had a stem cell infusion, I'm thinking I probably wouldn't have managed to get on a plane. I was such a lump. And instead, I went to this little town. My younger son rented a house at the top of the mountain overlooking the bay, and I walked up to his house. And my phone app told me, the health app told me that it was 20,000 steps and 42 stories that I walked to get up to his house. And I did that every day for 3 weeks. It was just amazing how much energy has been restored to me.
That's amazing. She's a sweetheart. She's a lovely lady. Yeah, so this in many cases is how your body will respond to repairing it with your own cells. So what we're doing is putting your cells back in. They go to where the damage is and create growth and repair. And we have many other, obviously, cases of stroke and MS and Parkinson's patients, but that's a terrific result. So for those of you who've had a stroke, certainly go to the website or any of those conditions we talk about. Go to the website and watch the videos, and you could see Janice and a whole bunch of other videos, 20 some odd videos about how well stem cell therapy works. A couple of other things to comment on. Making leaps and bounds with our remote patient monitoring mechanism, where we can have the Medicare patient, we can send you home with a blood pressure cuff, smartwatch, glucometer, pulse ox, a device that is a electronic pill box where you can put your meds in, and all of this information gets sent to the office and it pops into my computer, into your part of your chart. And we can track your blood pressure. We can track your blood sugar. We can look at your pulse and your oxygen, all your vitals, make sure you're taking your meds. Medicare now is so thrilled with this idea, which I didn't understand initially, but it's a great way to continue great contact with your doctor or the nurse prac or PA working with the doctor, as we have as well, so that you have an issue, we can deal with it right away rather than something brewing and getting worse, and all of a sudden you're stuck in an emergency room when you're dealing with something that, Medicare doesn't like the fact they're going to have to pay a, big emergency visit. So it's really keeping people in better health. With this mechanism, we're able to talk to you twice a month, 3 times a month if we need, or once a week if we need. And it's great connection with the doctor or patient. Most people that I see, when they come in, they say they can't get to their doctor, their specialist for 3 to 4 months. So 3 times a year, 4 times a year, that's really not tracking your pressure. That's 3 to 4 times out of an entire year. Or your blood sugar. Granted, you may bring in a week's worth of your blood sugar that, you're taking it and documenting it, but this is automatic. So it's just a wonderful idea. There are a couple of very cool watches that are smart watches. Samsung has a really nice one. Very easy to use and read, but you could document your exercise, how well you're sleeping, your pulse, a little mini EKG. You're getting all of this great information. So this is a perfect way, certainly, for our Medicare patients to be tracked by your favorite doctor. Thank you, by the way. By your favorite doctor. If you like the idea, or you can call in from anywhere, even if it's hard for you to get to the office. We do this through telehealth in many cases. So we could set that up for you. Give us a call at the office, 516-794-0404, and the website, drcalapai.com.
Boom.
Any other questions?
We're good. Up to date.
All righty. We're down at the end of the program. Wonderful, wonderful. A quick comment about our vitamin packs working extremely well. And for many years, I've tried to figure out how to do this, and now we're able to do it, where once I see your blood work, I look at your deficiencies of vitamins. I put together recommendations on a list to put certain capsules in your morning pack, evening pack, etc. Cover what you need, also based upon your circumstance or your medical conditions. And you get a box that either is 1, 2, or 3 months worth of vitamins. And the first time we do it, it's a month's worth because you want to recheck it and make sure your levels are perfect after you start taking them. And it enables you to just get a box that you're taking a pack, and that's your morning vitamins you take with your meal. And if you go to dinner, take your evening pack, take that with your meal. If you're home, of course, you do it at home, but you don't have to go out and buy 20 different bottles of things and you don't know what you're taking, too much or too little. It just makes it a perfect tailored vitamin recommendation to you. Also for patients of any age, if you want to do the telehealth visit, you can do that. We may be able to send a lab to your home to get your blood done and then review that and set you up with your vitamins. So we can do this in a wide range. We do it for people all over the place now, but an expanded range just by doing that phone call, the telehealth. So thank you all for listening today. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day and enjoy yet another amazing weekend. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. Email us. Frankie, wonderful show today.
As always, Doc.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Have a wonderful day. God bless you all. Bye-bye now.